And some people want all sorts of different things. Some people hear about, liberation, they want that. Other people, they could care less about liberation. So everybody wants, they don't all want the same thing out of spirituality. Me, there's only two things I can really talk about. I can talk about the lucid state or the enlightened state. The rest have never been my interest. It's not my area of expertise, so I wouldn't even bother asking me much about it. But most people, like in a crowd like this, it's that lucid state, that awakened state is what's really driving them. And you probably wouldn't be here if you hadn't had some glimpse of that. Oh, you may not have had, some of you, some big awakening experience, but some moment out of the ordinary, something. Could be something you even forgotten a long time ago. But something that showed you that there's more going on than just what we imagine. There's more going on in life than what we culturally sanction, what we culturally agree upon is happening. There's something more vital going on, That great, as I said last night, the drive of life to become conscious of itself. Existence becoming conscious. That's what's going on. So let me just end up with this. In a certain sense, spiritual awakening is a very simple thing. It's a very, very simple thing. It doesn't really require much. It doesn't really require anything except just a moment of real honesty. So it's true that spiritual awakening does not require time. It does not require effort, struggle, deserving or being undeserving. None of that is required. In fact, the only thing that's required is to put all that nonsense down. And so when you point, most spiritual teachings that point in that direction, those pointers are very good and very powerful and very true. And yet there's a whole lot more to the story than that also. And some of those pointers don't work when you get to other parts of the story. Very rarely is real, sustained, lasting spiritual clarity arrived at easily. Very, very rarely. It opening and revealing itself to you often happens very, very easily. I mean, you may have struggled for it for years, you may not. But it's the rest. It's the rest of the story that doesn't usually happen overnight. Pretty rare that it happens overnight. To act from that awake place, to express yourself, because you still got a human being thing going on, right? And that's what trips everybody up, is their humanness. Right? You gotta, no matter what you realize today, you gotta go right outside that door and you gotta go into this immense world of relationship. Even if it's, the one relating with the one, yada, yada, yada. You still got relationship. And that's what trips most people up, isn't it? You can be all cool and groovy when you're all by yourself. That's why you go to retreat, so you can get all cool and groovy, so you can be left alone. You don't have to argue with anybody. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Nothing has to be done, Nowhere has to be gone. Nothing. It's all done for you. It's really easy, which is great because a lot reveals that way. That's what they're there for. So you can put all that down. But then you go out there. But what's out there is actually in here. Then you go out in the world of relationship, and now you got to do something. Now we are all constantly having to respond to existence, are we not? To move with it, to flow with it. Even if you've realized that you are all of existence, in a strange way, it doesn't mean necessarily that you therefore know how to really flow with existence. As one old wise Zen master said, it's not two, there's no separation. It's not two, but it's not one either. So we go out and you have to relate, whether it's relating to the weather or whether you lost your car keys or your boss or your sons or daughters or families or husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it is. We are in moments of relationship, are we not? Life is relationship, constant, almost constant relationship. Your senses relating to taking in all of the information around it. Right now, your senses are in relationship with my voice and your heartbeat and how the chair feels under you. So there's constant relationship. It's relationship that tends to trip you up. It's the area of relationship that is the stumbling block for most people, even people who have very deep realization. The whole arena of relationship is the part that very rarely clarifies itself instantly. It may for a moment, but very rarely does that clarify, because there's a way in which, well, I won't even go. We'll go into that. I just want to point out it's relation. That's why I said simply returning back to that state of clarity is not necessarily going to solve the apparent dilemma of the world of relationship. Because it's one thing how clear you are on a spiritual retreat or when you're sitting in your room all alone. It's another thing, are you clear when you go home to your parents' house for Christmas dinner? When you can remain clear going home for Christmas at dinner with all the aunts and uncles, with nobody that knows who you are or understands you in the slightest, then you're actually getting somewhere. Do you see what I mean? That's where the rubber hits the road, is it not? That's why there's that old Zen teaching, very ancient, a beautiful saying, if you want to know the clarity of the Zen master, ask his wife or her husband, whichever the case may be, right? Don't ask the master. They'll just be full of shit. Ask their significant other. Then you'll know, how deep has this gone? You know? And that's what matters, isn't it? I mean, that's the part that doesn't necessarily, just drop into you out of the clouds. Like I said, it's very rare that whole area of relationship becomes clear, because you can be very, very clear, but actually also simultaneously be holding on to a lot of nonsense. I think this is pretty self-evident, isn't it? You can be doing it both at the same time, You can be very clear and very unclear. Or your clarity may be very situational. You're very clear in some situations and completely diluted in others, You can be an absolute pristine example of Buddhahood in one situation, and then you can be a complete wreck in another. I've seen it. You've probably seen it. You may have been it, Buddha one place and wreck the other place. Do you know? I've had so many people, say, well, gosh, everything is so perfectly clear. I understand everything. It's just, everything's great. till I go home to my boyfriend. Or whatever it may be. Or simply walk out the door, God knows what else. So that's that whole area of relationship. And there isn't, the difficult thing is, there is no easy answer. There's lots of things in life for which there is no easy answer. Is there not? There are lots of things about life that there is no easy answer for starvation, for poverty, for cruelty, for hate, for violence, for ignorance. There is no easy answer. There is no easy answer how to embody what you have realized. There is no 6-part plan. It does not work that way. There's no easy answer how to grow up, is there? How did you grow up? How did you mature? Was that easy? Did you have a 3-point plan for maturity? If you've actually attained any maturity, Lots of things in life, they don't come in these nicely clear-cut packages. And really embodying what you realize doesn't happen that way either. So as a teacher, I can't go and say, here's how to do it. Here's a nice pre-packaged way. Apply these 3 things to every area of your life and you'll have clarity everywhere. Because that's not the way it works. Certain things can be helpful, sure. But what's probably the most important element that I've seen, that I've witnessed, is not what you can be taught about this particular part of the spiritual awakening. Not what you can be taught. But you only really find the resources you need when you're completely cast back upon yourself. Which is pretty much what nobody wants. There is something in all of us that only becomes deeply and fully available when we're really cast back upon ourselves. When we stop trying, and what I mean by cast upon yourself, when you're cast back upon yourself, usually the first thing you know is that you don't know. How do I do this? You don't know. Why do I keep getting lost? You don't know. Why do I have moments of clarity and then go unclear? You don't really know. And what do I do about it? You don't really exactly know. And what everybody else knows isn't really going to completely help you. It might be of some help, but it's not going to be the magic, what would you say? The magic bullet, as they say. The silver bullet. Because the silver bullet is this: there isn't a silver bullet. Because really embodying what you realize is more like learning to ride a bike. You're not taught how to ride a bike. You get on the damn thing, and your parents say, you can do it, and they push you off, and they stay close, so when you fall, maybe you don't hit your head. They catch you, maybe they don't catch you, but you get on, and you try it, and you fail. And then you get back on, and you try it, and you fail. And you get back on, and you try it, and you fail. And if you sit down on the side of the grass and try to figure out how never to fall off again, you will never, ever learn how to ride a damn bike, will you? You would have never learned how to walk if you kept trying to figure out how to walk all the time. You learn to walk by walking. You learn to ride a bike by riding. You learn how to be what you really are by just really diving into it, by getting off the sidelines. Stop trying to figure it all out. Stop looking for the easy answers and start to live the answer, to throw yourself into your own existence, to throw yourselves into your life. Even though you don't have all the answers. Because only then do you come upon that reservoir of wisdom that mostly we only come upon when we have to, when there are no other options left. Does that make sense? I think a lot of people, probably most people, have had some experience of coming up with their own unique answers when they completely entered that place where they really didn't have the answers. So they didn't know what to do. Nobody else had them either. And so you entered into a very rare place inside of yourself. And somehow, out of that emptiness, out of that quietness, things start to arise. Ultimately, all you really need is all you really have to do is you want to be clear. That's what you have to be. And you have to want to be clear more than you want to hold on to any of your unclarity. Then things start to happen. You have to want to be clear more than you want to hold on to what's making you not clear. Does that make sense? It's pretty easy to understand, isn't it? And then there you are. And you're in that old situation you've been in 1,000 times before. Maybe it's with the same damn person. And everything in you wants to blame them, fight them, something. Everything in you wants to do the same old thing. And it's so justified. You are so justified in feeling the way you feel. You're so right, even though it's never worked. Right? And at that moment, then it really becomes real, doesn't it? Do I want my nonsense more than I want to be clear? Do I want this, the same old, more than I want something else? You don't have to even know the something else. You don't even forget about trying to know the something else. All you have to know is that the same old conditioned stuff is you no longer want it and mean it. Because the moment you no longer want it, it won't be there. It really won't be there.